These are the 7 mistakes that will ruin your school community. Mistake number 1, using AI slop. And what I mean by this is having AI generated courses, posts, or PDFs. The only exception to this is using AI to set up high quantity value sets. And an example of this would be having 100 motivational quotes inside of your school community. You can use AI to gather or make that and then post it. But if you're going to use AI to generate your courses or your posts or your PDFs, and I'm not talking about making small adjustments, but I'm talking about solely AI made products that will ruin your community. The next mistake is being inactive. But then you might ask yourself, how active do I have to be? And what I'll be talking about right now doesn't include live calls. This is exclusively the amount of time you spend inside of the community answering posts and making them. First answer I can give you is that it depends on the niche and the level of involvement needed. On the scale, I want you to give yourself a number from 0 to 10, where instant effect versus result after action. An example of instant effect would be if your customer asks a question and you answer that question, and upon answering that question, they can do something instantly in a matter of seconds. Once they've done that, their problem is solved. 2, the result after action. This is where your customer asks a question, you give them an answer, and it takes them very long to set it all up. Like, for example, running an online store or something like that. On the scale from 0, being after I answer, they instantly have their problem solved, to it takes very long to have the problem solved, where would you put yourself in regards to your niche and your community? Now, depending on how up on the scale you rank, that also correlates to the amount of work and time you should put in. If it's a 10, then you can afford to spend less time. But if it's a 0, then you probably should spend a lot of time inside of the community. But to illustrate how much time you should actually spend inside of your school community, I'll be showing you this graph. If members increase, then you have to spend less time for every member that is inside of your community. But if you only have 10 members, then you should probably give each of them more time compared to when you had 100 members. Yes, you will have to spend more time if the member amount goes up, but proportionally to how much time each member is getting, it's a lot less than it was before if the amount of members inside of your community increases. And then another tip I can give you is don't be all over the place. Pick a time and stick to it. So decide a time for when you will log on to school and answer people's questions. This gives structure to the community, and then people know when their questions will be answered. Then let's move over to the next mistake. And that is allowing the free flow of information. Now, what do I mean with free flow of information? I mean that you have to keep the community focused on talking about what the community is about and not about some external things. And I'll give you an example later. So what you have to do is you have to manage your community. And yes, this includes moderating, because imagine if somebody joins and they join to learn about X, but then they see that everybody's talking about Y. What do you think that effect will be? They will most likely churn because what they bought isn't what they got. You have to decide the extent of the conversation. Take the niche of self-improvement, for example. If fitness is a part of your community, then you should allow fitness talk. But if somebody starts talking about their cars and how they improve their cars, that's not allowed. Now, I know that's a weird example, but I'm sure that you can see to what extent you should allow a conversation to be had about certain topics. Then let's look at the next mistake, and this is lack of onboarding. If you want 1/3 of new members to leave in the first month, then you can ignore onboarding. If you don't want that, then you can check out the video, which I've linked in the description, about onboarding. Most people completely forget onboarding without realizing how important it is, and they experience major churn. Then let's look at the next mistake, and that is not having any structure inside of your community. So somebody joins and he says, I bought this product, so now I can finally start learning my dream skill. The product looks like this. They have no idea what to do. They can't make out where they should start or what they should do. That's why you have to have structure in your community, and school makes that very easy. The right approach to this is thinking, if my customers are 8-year-olds with iPads, how do I get them to reach their goal and use the product the right way? That is the question that you should ask yourself when you release a product. But here's an example of the right structure for your community. Once they join, you say, do your onboarding tasks. Then, watch the first module. Implement the first module. Ask questions about the first module. Implement what you have asked, what answers you got. Then, watch the second module. Very simple. You just have to make it so it's obvious to them what they should do at what point. Then let's move over to the next mistake, and that is having no moderation. Now, this kills a free community, and to prove this to you, I'll tell you my story about when I was working with a very big free community. I'm not going to disclose the member amount because I don't want to disclose which community this was, but this is what the distribution of comments looked like. 1/3 of comments were bots, 1.5 out of 10 posts were bots, 15 bot DMs per day. So every member got about 15 bots DMing them every single day. That's what you wake up to when you open Skool. That's 50 bot DMs just because that community was not properly moderated. They didn't implement the things to make sure that bots stay out. Then the next thing, 7 out of 10 posts were either a copy of what has already been posted, so people were asking the same questions, or they were straight up copying the post they had already made. 1/4 of posts was below the character requirement. In this community, we had a requirement for people to write a certain amount of characters. 1/4 of posts didn't even bother, they just posted it anyway. And then a 10 of posts was funneling to either somebody's YouTube channel or to a product they were selling. That's why you have to make sure that you have proper moderation in place. Then let's look at the last mistake that kills your community. That is switching niche. This is another story of a couple of communities which I was a part of. So the members join, and this is very common with Make Money courses, but some other courses have the same problem too. So the members join and they tell the creator, hey, your course doesn't work, I haven't made any money yet. The owner goes, that's your fault, you didn't put in the effort. Then the member puts in the effort and it says, yeah, the money course still doesn't work. Then the owner goes, that's because the most important thing is actually just the niche part of my course and I will now only focus on that. Most of the times that was a lie or cope in some way because they would focus on something that was clearly less important than some of the other things. But that is one of the things that creators do. They switch up and they lose loads of money just because they switched their niche or they got deeper into something and they changed up the entire community because of it. Then there is another example from a community which I was a part of. So the members went, whoa, this product is really good. Then the owner, yes, but from now on, I will only focus on helping people with this new thing. Then all the members left. I saw so much money going away simply because this creator decided that it was, for some reason or another, not worth it to focus on the topics that were doing very well. And that creator just decided to switch to a new topic inside of the community that was being talked about. Now, I'm talking about removing pretty much everything related to what the members initially bought the product for. I'm talking about removing courses, removing the styles. The live calls were no longer about the topic that they bought the product for. Now, I don't know why this creator did that, but I've seen others do it too. That's why I suggest don't ever consider switching niche. It's better to create another community than to switch your niche because it will cost you a lot of money.
If this video was helpful, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you're a content creator and you want me to help you in creating and scaling an info product, or you just want to know why I make these videos, then click the first link in the description.